Yeah.
And there's people watching this who will reject everything you just said and say, what about those people over there?
Yeah.
What about those people? And they're not thinking about the people right here.
Yeah.
And, again, I just have never seen so much hate for America, yet the entire world isn't running to China or Russia. The entire world wants to come to America. They want to be Americans.
Mm-hmm.
But yet there's so much disdain and hate right here for this country, for this president. Why do so many people hate it? But
Look what happened in Panama.
I saw a meme,
flag.
and it was. I mean, excuse me again. You could cut this off, Enrique. But I saw a meme that said, "How much money or aid have we received from?" We live near Los Angeles. I know JB and Enrique did a video on it, and there's been complete devastation in some parts of like the Pacific Palisades. I mean, being here from California, we got to see it firsthand on the news every day of what destruction. So whatever you've seen from wherever you are in the United States or the world, it's probably worse than what you think. And why I'm saying that is how much money is the United States receiving from, not to name any countries in specific, but from anywhere, giving us aid to help pay, let's say, I mean, that's going to be probably $1 billion, more than like billions of dollars to replace everything that's happening. How many people are rushing to send us millions or maybe billions of their dollars from their country to help us with our problems here? Like, I don't think one. You think, is there one country that's going to be sending? I mean, I'll give Mexico credit because Mexico sent a lot of their firefighters from Mexico.
Canada did too.
Canada as well.
So we would do the same.
We would do the same, but I mean, for a lack of a better description, I'm thinking of Ukraine comes to mind. Just how much money we sent them.
Yeah, China wasn't knocking down the door like, hey, do you need help?
Yeah, all the money that we've sent them. And are we gonna? I mean, and I get maybe they don't have the resources, but is anybody gonna come help us? And I'm not saying we want it. I mean, we're very independent here in the U.S., so we always kind of have a pride of like taking care of our own. So we're gonna fix that. But at the same time, it was a meme that just it kind of hit home to me because I'm like, yeah, you know what? We want to send money to everybody, and nobody wants to send money to us, which is cool. But how about we stop sending money to other people and use that money to help us?
Yeah, exactly.
$300 to $500 billion in damage in Los Angeles. Don't forget the Helene storm victims in North Carolina. They're still intense.
You went over there. Yeah.
East Palestine 2 years ago. They still can't drink the water. So there's just, I mean, the infrastructure in America has already collapsed, and we've seen so much collapse here. And yet, you look at China building these new super cities, and it's just unbelievable what they're doing, and basically leaving us in the dust. And we're just not taking care of our own people, our cities, our airports. We got planes crashing. We don't have enough people working at the airport with the FFA. The airports are crumbling. If you've been to an airport lately, a lot of them the infrastructure is just so old. The planes are old at some of these airlines. But I mean, are they really being taken care of like they should? Look at the Boeing planes, the situation they're in. And
part of that is the push of the previous administration's force on DEI. Because I mean, I heard a really interesting statement from J.D. Vance, again, this administration, and not to get political, but he talked about I think most people. I'm an immigrant. I'm a legal immigrant, right? I mean, well, I shouldn't say myself because I'm an American, but I'm the third generation here. But years ago, my grandma and grandpa immigrated from Mexico, and my grandma and grandpa from my dad's side immigrated from Ireland. So I'm half Irish, half Mexican. And I'm just thinking, like, when you are up in the air, JB knows this, and maybe if you didn't, I hate flying, but I travel a lot. I go all over. I take 14-hour flights to the Philippines. I go everywhere because I love to travel. So you have to accept that you're going to fly.
Yeah.
I promise you, like JD Vance says, I'd rather know that the person flying my plane when I'm flying for 14 hours is the most qualified person to fly me.
Right.
Rather than you tell me, may have not been the most qualified, but he was a DEI hire, so you're safe. Oh my God. Like, no offense to DEI hires, but give me the most qualified people to do every job.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're working for a fire department, you cannot drag a 300-pound human being out of a house. You probably shouldn't be doing that job.
Yeah.
You want people based on merit, the best people. I don't care if they're polka dot, purple, pink, whatever. If your life is on the line, you want the best person on the job.
Who do you guys
at your
want
house.
flying? The DEI hire?
Yeah, yeah.
Or your or the most qualified person? I don't care what the
Or
color
even
is.
working on the plane.
Yeah,
I don't care what the color is.
Yeah. No, it's amazing. You know, you would think that you would want the best people out there, but that's probably going to end up happening in the future. I'm pretty sure that they're going to work something out where they're going to bring the best people in again.
Yeah.
So I think it's going to be very interesting these next couple of years. Every single day feels like just a whirlwind of information coming through, and just the president keeps making changes every single day. So 100 days from now, we're going to have a lot of different rules and regulations coming in.
One thing I do want to say is the trade wars are not over.
Yeah.
There's basically a ceasefire in the trade wars, except for China. That one's hot. But the other two, Canada and Mexico, not over. But there is some agreement there. So we'll see how that plays out. So we're not out of the woods here yet. And I do believe it's going to be a very turbulent year for 2025, but this has to take place. I think you really have to crash things in order to reset, rebuild, restart. I think this administration is trying to just pump some blood back into the veins of this country and just shock, this body that's on the hospital table right now. It's shocking it back into life, and it's going to be painful.
And how old are you, Enrique?
41.
How old are you, JB?
No comment.
No comment. I'm 44. So the reason I mention that is because in my lifetime, I've seen presidents. I can't. When I started paying attention was probably around the first Bush administration, 88 to 92.
Yeah, by the way, 55 guys, 55.
55. I've seen so many presidents give promises and have debates and talk about what they're going to do and all of these things. This is the first time, and excuse me for anyone that's older who's been able to see great presidents in the past. I'm not even saying the presidents that have been in my lifetime weren't great. I'm not saying like they were not great. I'm saying in my lifetime, I've yet to see a president who said the things that he was going to do when he became a president that has done everything correct, in the comments, correct me if I'm wrong, of anybody yet or anything yet that this current administration talked about that they were going to do that they haven't done yet. I'm not saying if they've gotten some pushback on those things, whether or not they've been able to do it or not, but they're trying to do. I don't think in my lifetime, I know in my lifetime, I've never seen that. I've never seen,
I agree 100%.
I've never seen they're doing everything they said they were going to do.
And nobody can argue the fact that this guy, 2 weeks, nobody's done ever in 2 weeks as much as this guy. This guy's literally just thrown the table up in the air.
And if you voted for this administration, don't let the different news, all the different news broadcast stations, or don't let them change your mind. Just like we talk about when the previous administration was saying we don't have what is it when the food cost goes up? We don't have inflation.
Yeah.
We're controlling inflation. Use your eyes. Go to the grocery store and look and see when you bring up your bill, if your bills were more when they were saying there wasn't inflation than they were 4 years previously. And you'll know the truth.
Yeah.
Whatever anybody's saying on any kind of social media, any kind of news networks, anything like that, use your eyes and see if this administration is doing exactly what you voted them in for. One of the largest differences in electoral votes most in my lifetime that I've ever seen. You voted this administration in. They're doing what they said they're going to do. Everything. They're at least trying. So don't let nobody convince you otherwise, because use your eyes. You don't need to listen to what nobody's saying. Yeah. Go look if you want to see. I'm sure there's some website on Washington, D.C. somewhere that you can look and see every single executive order that this guy's put through. Yeah. Every single thing that's happening right now. Yeah. Is because he said it would, and he's not going back from that. And you got to have thick skin. People are going to hate you. Yeah. People, it's so viral. It's so visceral right now. If you say you are a fan of this administration, it's opposite. You're going to fight that person. Yeah. But I'm just saying the truth.
Who would have anything against? He's sending some really bad people back to their homelands. Bad people, which means your daughters, your kids, your sons, your wives are much safer today. They're a little bit safer today when they go out there in the real world, because a lot of these bad actors are gone and more of them are going to be leaving.
If you're in Chicago,
how would you not want that?
If you're in Chicago, if you lived in Chicago, I was talking to my wife about it the other day. I said, hey, this is what's happening in Chicago. I said, Imagine if in this neighborhood, I told you that of a city, we live in Indio, California, of a city of 91,000 people, if I told you that there was 3,000 murderers, not convicted, but maybe either, or some convicted, but accused, right? They may still be going through the process of court, that are now no longer in this city anymore. I told my wife, who is from the Philippines, born and raised, from the Philippines, but lives here in the U.S. now for almost, 13 years. I said, how would that make you feel? Would you feel better about that, regardless of your leanings politically? And she was like,
it's not political.
Oh my God. It's like, that's just common sense. Like, Chicago should feel better today than they did 2 weeks ago because of what the ICE or this administration is doing in Chicago right now.
Yeah, you're a little bit safer.
I mean, you're I don't know how many gone generation immigrant. I mean, does this offend you at all?
No, I mean, as long as they go ahead and get rid of the criminals.
Yes.
It is making a lot of Hispanics afraid. So I've talked to people and they don't want to come out of their house, or maybe they're not going to school, or they're not going to the doctor, or they're not fulfilling their appointments. But I understand that. I mean, if you are not legal in this country, you don't want to be deported, especially if you haven't committed like an actual heinous crime.
But the problem is, when you enter a country illegally, you just committed a crime.
Yeah.
You could not do this in any country in the world.
True. Yeah.
And then expect that country to pay for all these services for people.
But
that's the problem.
But I do understand and feel what you're talking about. Like, I see it and I feel it. Like, I can feel the feeling that I go to if I go to the store. Like, like I almost feel like, I don't know if I hate to say this, but I almost feel like a lot of Mexicans in the neighborhood that I live in or in the Coachella Valley, are like, whenever I see them, it feels like they have their head down. Yeah. Like, almost like they're trying to get, like, not give attention to anyone. And I don't know what the solution to the people who come here illegally, which is a crime, but that are here to contribute in a positive way to our. I mean, I wouldn't. That's why I'm not president, and I wouldn't want to be in president. But as of right now, they're not targeting those illegal immigrants. They're targeting the illegal immigrants. And if you're an illegal immigrant that is here, that has done everything right, that since you've been here, but you were in the wrong place at the wrong time, targeted by a raid from ICE, what are you doing hanging around with other people who have done crime?
That's true.
So you if you're a legal immigrant right now, don't hang around with anyone who's done crime. If regardless, you shouldn't do that anyway. Period. But if you know that you're illegal, you should put your head down, do what you've been doing, which is being a great part of our country. And don't do what you shouldn't do. Don't hang around with someone who's doing a heinous crime.
I think another thing we got to realize too is Mexicans are really the minority here, because you had 160 countries coming over from all. I mean, what about all the Chinese that are here? What about all the Middle Eastern people that are here?
A lot of people.
There's so many people here. So either you have rule of law and people have to come in the right way, or go out the right way. Because we let in 1.5 million people legally every year. And to me, when you just come over, you're cutting in front of those people who are doing it the right way, who have to, take the tests, learn some history, learn the language, all that. And these people are going to cut right over. And then it just cuts wages.
Ultimately,
and it's a drain.
This administration has to do what's right. Because I use the example, like, whenever I think of even the sympathy that I feel now for anyone here illegally that isn't committing crime, other than coming into our country illegally, I think about my children, and I think about lessons that I'm going to give my children as they grow up. Again, I have a 5 and 4-year-old, and am I going to ever tell them it's okay if you commit this crime, if after you commit that crime you do everything you're supposed to do in life? Never. Never. The right thing to do is, I'm going to teach my kid, you don't commit the crime. You don't do anything illegal. It's wrong. It's not the right thing to do. So ultimately,
and when they go to school and the class is 50 deep and half the class can't speak English, they suffer.
Yes.
And we pay for it.
Ultimately, you have to do what's right. You have to do what's right. And that's what this administration is doing.
And I do believe, like, people have been here for a certain amount of time, they're probably going to work out a deal. Maybe 10 years they've been here, 20 years, those people. But I think they're going to get rid of the criminals first. Then I think under this last administration, when they flooded this country, I think those people in the last 4 years are really going to be in jeopardy.
And it's not wrong. It's not wrong to deport people who are here illegally, regardless of what the circumstance is, regardless of the time they've been here. So we can have hearts, and we can be as nice as we can to everybody, because you should be that way anyway. But at the same time, like it's like our debt. Like does this administration want to make however many people they're going to make unemployed? I think if you asked anyone in this administration if they want to do that, I think their answer, if they're speaking from their heart, would be no.
I agree.
But they have to. They have to, because we're
It's the
$36
pain.
trillion in debt.
Yeah.
You know, like it's the same thing for the deportations. You know, does anybody feel good about them? Does anybody? I mean, other than the criminals, which I love
No, it's unfortunate. A lot of people got caught in the crossfire.
but you shouldn't have done it.
Yeah.
You shouldn't have done it.
Yeah.
You should have done it the right way. I know it takes time. I know.
And one more thing, this has completely enriched the cartels
Yeah.
that made
That's another
billions off
topic.
of these people.
It's another
Billions.
topic.
So, I mean, it's got a criminal effect to it.
Yeah.
The cartels made a fortune. We're spending hundreds of billions of dollars a year to pay for people here too that use the subsidies, use the hospitals, use the schools, all that. So we got a big mess on our hands. And that's why I just say this cannot be fixed in a year. It probably won't be fixed in 4 years.
Yeah.
There's going to be pain to be felt for a lot of people, whether you're a citizen here or you're not a citizen here. There's going to be a lot of pain here, because things are going to get very, very chaotic.
Yeah.
And I sympathize with everyone who's here illegally doing the right thing, because even all the things that I say, I still shoot, man. I mean,
So you have. Let's go back really quick. I know it's getting long, but you have people from all over the world. All right, let's forget Mexico. There's less
just a
people
legal
coming
period,
from Mexico, but I'm saying, but there's more people coming from other countries than Mexico. Like most of the people that we got in the last 4 years were not from Mexico.
Well, I can speak specifically. Like my wife is technically legal, but born here but raised in the Philippines. She was telling me the other day how they were talking about how there's probably over 300,000 illegal Filipinos in the United States. And in the Philippines, a big thing that's happening there is, in their news, is that a lot of those are also being deported. So there hasn't been any flights to the Philippines yet, but there's going to be, I mean, I'm sure those are coming. And so it's sad for her. Like, so I feel for like my wife, having, she feels some way about that. But even her, she's like, they shouldn't have been here illegally. She came here legally, 100%. I mean,
so this morning they're saying we may have 50,000 Chinese here who are here illegally. They may be engineers. So why did the communist China government send 50,000 engineers to this country? So this is a huge threat to America. Yeah, it's also a health threat, because none of these people get vetted and screened. So we have no idea. We had a TB outbreak in Kansas City. And
it's part of. I mean, is it not part, JB, you probably know best, or being an accountant, you probably know really best and better than I do. Isn't that also going to help our debt?
Absolutely.
Because we don't have to pay the things that we have to pay
of
for
billions
people
a
that
year
are illegal.
on these people. And
so so speaking of this administration's promise to drop our debt, our national debt, isn't this a big dent in that as well?
It's a big cut in spending.
Yeah.
Right. And we've lost a lot of hospitals because it just drains the system. The people need medical attention. They're having kids, right? So they go to the hospital. No insurance. Who's paying for this? You are. So look, we all have empathy and compassion for people. It's a lot of people got, again, in the crossfire here. But look, you either have rule of law, you have laws in a country, you have a country, you have a border, or you don't. No other country does this. And so we cannot. We're bankrupt. We can't afford to do this. If we go down, we cannot help anybody else. But one thing I do want to say is, all these people that have come here still trying to get here. Yeah, we have people in this country who hate this country, but people willing to risk their life to get here to work a medium low end job. Yet people in this country who won't get off the couch, who will use those subsidies, take America for granted, hate this country, burn the flag, tell you to F off. Yet people are willing to die to come. Why do they want to come to this country and no other country?
I think it's ultimately about the bottom line, which is money. Like everything we talked about. Speaking with the accountant,
there's one color. It's green.
Yeah. Speaking with the accountant, I think everything that we've talked about, all this passion you just felt, it all came down to trying to get the United States out of debt. I mean, ultimately the bottom line. Talking about the average household incomes, taxes, illegal immigration, USPS, illegal stuff coming from different countries. Everything comes down to saving our country's financial interests so we can all have a future.
We're going to go ahead and leave the video here. Thank you for joining us today. If you've made it to the end of the video, I give you props here. It's we usually don't do videos this long, but you know what? There's a lot of things on our mind. Obviously, JB has a lot of knowledge on that. And as well, Elias, he doesn't come on this channel too often, but he definitely gave his 2 cents. And we appreciate all you watching. And we'll see you guys in the next one. Take care.